Okay. Hello, everybody. My name is Master Chen.
My name is BGM.
This is Doxy.
I'm Chernobyl.
And you're listening to GREYNOISE. All right, everybody. Welcome to episode 22.
Okay. You didn't usually say the episode number before we go to the intro.
No, if you look back at the last, 2 or 3 episodes, I say it after the intro.
Okay, so you messed up 2 or 3 episodes, and now that's the normal?
Look, now
Okay,
he's got to roll with it.
By the
that's
way,
what we're doing from forever?
Speaking of intros, wasn't that an awesome intro done by Moki the Destroyer?
I think it was.
It's pretty good.
All right, so if you want to hear more sick-ass beats, go to MokiTheDestroyer.com. And there we go. Hey, Moki. He's actually here in studio with us. All right, so this is episode 22. How's everybody doing today?
I'm all right.
You're all right. All
I
right.
ate 7 pixie sticks.
That's pretty out.
I think you should have done that on the show because that would have been entertaining.
We have it on the pre-show.
I don't think there would have been much audio to it.
Did we
except for
record that
rustling.
on
It would have been. I
The-
can't
his
get it
pixie
out.
stack?
I don't. Why isn't it
Okay.
coming out? It would have been a lot of that.
Would have been a normal
Oh,
Friday
okay.
night.
Okay.
Perfect.
It
Okay.
was recorded for the pre-show.
Bonus minutes.
All right. So there's a couple of things that we could talk about today. The first thing kind of came up with me and Doxy while we were working earlier today. The question is, should 8, 7-year-old kids and younger have iPods, iPads, phones, smartphones? Should they have this technology, or do they benefit from it the way that people who work do, or people who have a actual social life do?
Yes. Right. Social life.
Well, the 13-year-old kids who have Facebook and Twitter and Snapchat and
Yeah, so those 13-year-olds needed a lot more.
well,
Oh yeah.
that's another thing too that we can get into. But what are your thoughts on that first?
I personally think they should.
They should absolutely.
Yeah.
By the time they're old enough to hold something,
As soon as the parent can afford to give them one.
they need tablets, whatever they can afford.
Okay, why do they need it though?
Think about it this way, right? Like, a lot of us grew up with computers in the household, and we didn't need to have them, but the fact that we had them around gave us the advantage later on to, like, we had those extra years on every other kid because we had it.
But that's because you used your computer, quote unquote, for good because maybe you were programming at 10 years old. How many kids nowadays are programming at 10 years old?
Yeah, but you start out with something that's fun. Like, I learned how to program because I wanted to make add-ons for games. I taught myself everything I know in programming, at least from the start, mainly so I can make mods for the games that I like to play. And like the same sort of things will happen where kids will take these basic fun things and then actually learn other things from them.
Right, because unless you're exposed to it, like doing gaming mods or whatever, you would probably never see that until you're much older, much farther along in life. Otherwise, because you see stuff like everyone wants to be a lawyer, basketball player, NFL, whatever. Because they see that stuff, you're exposed to it very early. Computer stuff, you usually don't see it until either you have a computer class in high school, if your school has that, or until your friend shows you something cool, or just you might see it randomly.
Now,
Wait, were you asking just about phones in general? Like
Or
phones
just-
in
no,
general?
like
like
smartphones-
smartphones,
sort of tech,
smartphone. Like smart technology for kids under the age X. I don't know.
Because a lot of people,
The thing is, though,
a lot of people
Doxy.
argue that they shouldn't have access to that stuff so young.
Well, do you know, because I know all Android phones, all the later model ones, do you know if when you put a phone in kids mode, if GPS is still turned on?
I honestly don't know.
Because a lot of times parents got their young kids pagers just so they can, check on them to make sure they knew where they were.
I believe
but
it
now,
still would. Because
now
I know that
you can give them an Android device, turn on
Yeah.
kid mode, and they'll have games to play, and they'll be like, yeah, I can take it wherever. They won't be able to get on the internet.
I do know that they have.
But if you have GPS turned on, you'll know where they are.
I know that most of the major carriers have a child protection type service thing where you can locate from the GPS their children. So I can't imagine that kids mode would turn off the GPS, seeing as how it would be necessary for those services.
Okay.
now the way I'm asking this question, I'm not against kids having tablets and smartphones. What I'm saying though is, okay, Chernobyl, you had a computer and you used it to learn coding, but how many kids nowadays are using it to learn code? Like,
Well, I mean, you don't. I would say, even when we were kids, you don't pick it up specifically for that, but you
Yeah.
see something that you want to emulate or something that you want to try, and that leads into other stuff.
And
if you
but do you think there are so many distractions nowadays where like they pick up the phone and instead of seeing cool stuff like coding and this and that, they see Snapchat, they see Instagram.
yeah, but
they
the things
see...
that we thought were distractions or that our parents thought were distractions are the things that we now do to make money.
Right,
Like,
like
I-
people like MySpace,
But I still think
yeah.
the people who make money off of that stuff is the minority, not the majority. I mean, like,
No,
it's not-
okay. Another thing is, I was talking about this just recently at work, and we were talking about how tech slowly becomes more and more ingressed as a basic skill. For example, 10 years ago, you could have skill with Word on your resume, and it would mean something. Now, if you don't have that skill, if that's not on your resume, you're like a pin down. It's not like you're going to get hired without having those basic skills. I think the same thing's going to happen more and more with tech as it goes forward. So in 10 years from now, if you don't have these basic precursory skills with tablets and phones and all these things, you're just not going to be a hireable person.
Right.
So are you saying that on your resume you should be putting can use multi-touch smartphone device?
My point is that like these kids are developing skills that are going to be necessary for the workforce when they enter it. By the time they're entering the workforce, being able to do simple tech troubleshooting and being able to use cell phones and tablets and that sort of thing is going to be a necessary requirement.
And that's fine. And I'm not trying to cut off their use of smart devices. What I'm thinking is, okay, what if you gave them a tablet and restricted it to only learning materials instead of...
I think that's bad.
Why?
Because it's from doing just normal stuff that stuff comes about. Like I said, using MySpace, you'd start theming your website or whatever it was. You start kind of getting into coding.
It's
or
HTML.
Playing games, you start using you start using mods. It's by doing the normal stuff that you usually already do leads to other stuff. Like let's say
when I was a kid, I never read books. Well, kind of, but not really. But I played a lot of RPGs, and back in those days, RPGs are all text-based, so I read a lot of stuff, and I was actually well ahead of all of my classes in terms of literacy.
Yeah, I taught myself trig, so
and
I could.
I think it's because of RPGs.
I taught myself trig so I could learn how to do the formulas to do trajectories on rockets I would build in games.
Nah, you're too smart for us. Go away.
and like
I taught myself trig.
And let's say stuff people use now, like Snapchat or Instagram, whatever. People are like, oh man, that's really cool, and then that could lead into them learning how apps are developed.
Okay, then another question then is...
Oh, back in high school, remember I developed my own IRC client just because the one I was using didn't have any options.
He fucking called it BGMIRC.
Yeah.
Fucking original.
I
It was a pretty good title.
an IRC client because the ones that we were using didn't have like any options, and I was like, I want more options, so I just started making them. I learned how to build clients and add scripts.
Okay,
and stuff
and
like that.
not every kid that touches a tablet or keyboard is going to be great with it, but at least they'll know. They'll have some passing familiarity with it, so when they're not completely
okay. Now, would you agree then?
And now I'm a software engineer. That's the end of my story.
Or okay, this is slightly tangent, but I would say that 95% of the stuff that you see on these social media websites that are accessible through these smart devices is either fluff pieces or straight up bullshit or ways to find sheep. Like these are sheeps who are perpetuating this quote unquote news.
Sheeple talks coming out.
No,
YouTube comments.
I don't want to go into the sheep. I'm saying, how do you mitigate that if you're trying to use the tablet as a learning device for
your kid?
You parent your kid, but really you can't. It's just some kids are going to be good at it and get into it, and some are not.
Real
so
quickly,
Doc is going with the survival of the fittest kind of.
Real quickly,
here.
there's something interesting I saw, and I can't remember where. I'm going to have to find the source so you can put it on the website. Something interesting I saw online said that because of the internet, books are now mostly brought to people. People usually mostly take in books now through audio, like audiobooks. But more reading is done because of the internet, because of web pages. More people read every day because of the web. But books and stuff, the stuff that people used to go to for reading, that's all being done through audio now.
I believe that.
Which I thought was kind of an interesting statistic.
Much more effective delivery system.
I believe that too because I have Audible. I do have an Audible account, and I have finished more books in this year than I.
Yeah, but you didn't read them.
No, but I took them in audibly, but I am more educated, I believe.
Well, this article wasn't saying people read less; it was actually saying people read more because of the internet.
Our intake of information is way higher, but
is that information good information? I mean,
the thing is, it's
doesn't
maybe
matter.
maybe it's good to get young kids on the internet so they build these filters.
Yeah, that's going to be the thing. Is that fact of life going forward is going to be that you're going to be having information thrown at you constantly from all directions of little to no validity.
So the younger you get it, the faster you can build those filters.
Your minds are better at melding.
Because I don't know. Like I feel like it's sort of.
Yeah, molding.
It's sort of like it's not okay, but you have a lot of older people in the workforce now. They're like, I don't know how computers work, and I refuse to use them at all. And that's going to be not at all anymore.
I understand.
You won't be able to go to a job and say, I've never used Microsoft Word, and I don't plan on ever using it. Impossible.
Yeah, another thing too with the whole kids thing is you are really never going to prevent your kid from seeing the things that you don't want them to see. It's far better just to teach them how to handle those things when they encounter them. Because, everyone knew how to get past any filtering that any parent put on. Everyone knew how to get to wherever they wanted
Proxies
and delete
in
any
school.
trace of it.
You're right.
Like,
No,
So,
you're right.
so
You're right.
like parents like in 30 years are going to have to not only teach their kids about the birds and the bees, but also the trolls and the whiners, the SJWs and the white
The birds, the birds,
You
the
know?
bees, the sheeps, the trolls, the
the SJWs,
hawks,
the white knights,
Right.
and
that's
there's
like
sections
all
of the
these-
internet you
Okay,
just
I'm a
avoid.
total noob here, but what is SJW?
Social justice warrior.
Oh,
And
fuck.
that's just a
Okay.
fact of life, and it's gonna be for probably the foreseeable future. So it's better to get kids into it now,
Yeah.
as opposed to expecting them to just learn it on their own when they're.
It's only
When it's
going to
too
get
late.
worse. But then now we're into a topic of how do you properly parent a kid, and that doesn't relate too much to info
That's-
security.
That's out of our scope.
Yeah.
'Cause I mean,
Yeah, no, I'm not trying
Teach
to go
the kid
too
to have
far.
a password at least
Yes.
9 characters in length.
Number
using
one.
No.
Name your kid your password.
yeah. I mean,
Did
I
you say
don't know.
name your kid your password?
Yes.
Hey, come here, A
No,
one.
name your kid.
three-
Name your kid your password, but with the mask enabled. So come
Yeah.
here, asterisk, 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 asterisk. Only when you're in private you can call it.
Perfect.
Come here, Hunter 2.
Yeah,
All right.
It's a terrible
but I think,
password.
Yeah, I know.
I think definitely kids should be exposed to tech at as young age as you're able to.
Yeah.
It can only benefit them. I would
Okay, now then I have one more question before we can probably move on because I don't remember where this source was, or I've heard around, but there was something a while ago, and I could find it and post it later. But there was some argument where kids are now kind of not understanding depth perception because of the way they're interfacing with touch technology.
That could be possible.
Is that a thing? Like, I mean, do
I
you
don't-
guys
I
think that
haven't-
could be a
I
thing?
don't
I
think
doubt
so.
it.
Okay,
I think if these kids don't understand depth perception, they're probably blind in an eye.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why we have 2 of them.
Okay,
But also
Pretty logical.
along with that, a lot of people, parents and people who aren't into it, are say that kids who are super into tech and who get into tech too young lose their social skills, and I think that's kind of bad parenting. Like,
Yeah.
you gotta teach them that there's a balance in everything you do. You have their tech, but you also have your social life. You do stuff
You're
outside
right.
of that. Like, I know BGM played baseball and stuff like that, and we all had our extracurricular activities
Yeah.
and stuff to keep us balanced. We weren't just sitting in front of a computer all the time.
Right.
Even though it's a major part of our lives, you still have balance.
Everything in moderation.
Well, I'm not trying to debate with you guys. It is just
You
a
should
question.
be. You should
Yeah.
be trying
You
to
should
debate.
Well,
try
no,
to debate.
Come on, man.
You should try to
Well, fuck you guys. How's that?
So
Although,
there was an old saying that says, if you stare at the sky long enough, you'll start to lose sense of purpose. Is that like kind of what you were talking about with, if you stare at a phone long enough, you'll lose your depth perception?
Well, I'm like 90% blind anyway. I don't know.
I know.
Yeah, I got
Yeah,
that.
yeah. Well, no, because I remember like when I first started like really getting onto the internet, my dad told me, there are things out there, so just be aware. There are things out
Right.
there that you might not want to see,
And-
and if you see something that you don't want to see, hit the back button.
Back.
I was
Probably
like,
back
okay.
twice. Back. But yeah, I think that's.
I never hit the back button though because I
Man,
was like, what the fuck is this?
I
And
wish I
kept
had
going.
at least
let's
that
go
much. My parents were just like, "Dude, be careful with that internet stuff."
And I think the parents who fight their kids getting into tech early, the people who don't really understand how useful it truly can be, or who don't understand
Yeah,
like,
they're kinda like
how overreaching it is into every part of your lives.
Like the medieval ages where they're afraid of magic and they're afraid
Yeah.
of things.
They just don't understand how all encompassing tech is in our lives. Not just MySpace or Facebook, whatever it is, and stuff like that, but just everything. Your phone, your computer, your stuff you use, your everywhere you go. Tech is everywhere. You can't
Right.
get away from it.
Right.
And the better you understand it, the better life you'll have, I think.
I was of the mindset of just hitting the back button when I experienced stuff I didn't like either. But I still remember the first time I experienced a site that had like a 301 redirect, and then when I hit back, it just redirected back to the page, and I didn't know what to do, so I kept hitting back and it kept going to the page. So I freaked out and I shut down my computer. I
You
was
couldn't
like-
just hit like the X or anything.
No, I was
like,
in like middle school, and I didn't know how to computer at that point. So I was just,
Yeah.
I didn't know how to.
you just made me lose my train of thought. It had something to do with.
good.
That's
That's what
something.
I'm here to do.
Oh no,
derail
no. Okay, no,
trains.
I got it. Okay. So somewhat related. Another point to bring up though is that people experience different parts of the internet at different stages in their life. Like for instance, and I'm going to use today as an example, Doxy.
You're welcome.
Like no, thank you. So today, well, when I was younger, I already knew what things like Tub Girl was. I learned about Blue Waffle 4 years ago. Like,
God.
and so I'm learning all these things at different stages in my life, and only today, and I think this is like old, I guess, but only today did I know what
Oh, it's old.
kids in sandbox was.
Don't go there.
Kids in the sandbox. Yeah, and so
Don't go there.
yeah, you don't Google it. I did because I'm weird, and I saw it, and it was bad. And so
Now
what
you
I'm
feel bad
saying
about
is,
yourself?
no, what I'm saying is people experience the internet at different parts of the internet at different stages of their life. So that's
Yeah.
another interesting thing to bring up. Like, just because the kids are exposed to the internet doesn't mean they're going to be experienced to that part of the internet
Yeah.
at that time.
Depends on how much they search.
It also depends
Yeah,
on who
yeah.
their friends are and social
dude,
groups and
yeah.
that sort of stuff.
Look at Blue Waffle.
Yeah, because you can't like
I
stop a
went-
kid from talking to friends and like, hey man, go check this out. They're like,
In my
My,
middle school, most of the kids went on 4chan, so it was like a commonly talked about
See, and like,
thing.
I didn't know about I didn't really go to 4chan until after I was going to Reddit. So like again, maybe I'm doing this shit ass backwards. I don't know.
Yeah,
My
Yeah.
That's backwards.
Thanks everybody.
my dad gives unrestricted access to the internet to my nephews, and they're young. They're like 8 and 13.
So how are they handling it? Like, are they
Well, of course, I checked their history when my dad gave me his computer.
Uncle
because,
Hacker BGM?
my dad got a virus on his computer, and he was like, fix it. So I took a look, and of course, I looked at the history of their accounts too, and they watch a lot of Minecraft videos, and that's about it. Like every video, like their entire history was mostly YouTube. And
so they're only going to search for things I guess that they're interested in,
yeah,
or
I
something that
mean,
their friends tell them
and
to search for.
this was unrestricted. My dad doesn't watch them while they're on the computer.
But I mean, one thing leads to another. Especially once they start hitting that age, they'll get really curious about
like
stuff.
Minecraft Rule 34.
no, but like seriously, they'll be like their friends will have said like boob in school or something. Like, what's a boob? And they'll Google it, and then eventually they'll get there. And then it takes a couple clicks, man. And there's some weird stuff.
See, I'm not like
That's
weird,
going in some
I'm not,
sort
like,
of
weird
pre-show.
about sex or nudity with children. I mean,
No, I
that's
mean-
a
Yeah.
normal part of life. Whatever.
Yeah, no,
Google
I
boob
just
if
think-
you
wait,
want.
It totally is. But you know, like people are like, oh, my kid would never see that. But I mean, all it
gonna
takes is
see
them to
it.
hear one thing, and then they go down the trail, and then you don't see your kid for like a whole week.
My kid's
Yeah, and
gonna
then they
be,
know
my,
something about
my
horses
kid is
and
going to be the one at
whatever.
school that says boob.
Right. Yeah, but have you guys ever been on RedTube?
Did you guys see that new porno last night?
Oh jeez. All right, guys. So, are there any last thoughts on this particular subject, or
Give your kids tech, all of them.
But also give them parenting.
Right.
Invest,
Also be that.
if you do that, invest in those Nerf armor phone and tablet cases so that when they
Yeah.
eventually throw it on the ground, it won't break.
Right.
okay? So, invest in your children through tech, parenting, and Nerf protective technology for your smart devices.
That sounds
farmer.
way too nice and uplifting.
And don't fuck around. What do you
I
mean by that? I
thought
don't
you were
like
going
it.
to say something else. I thought you were going to say something else, much worse.
No, I'm not going to be that way.
Although, actually, the one addendum I will say is like teach your kids how to not get viruses, because otherwise you're going to spend like every week
It's all part of the
clearing it out.
experience, man.
Yeah.
It's all part of the
Okay,
experience.
so
they're
can get
gonna
as many
get a virus,
viruses-
and then I'm gonna teach them how to clean it.
yeah, then they have to do it from
Then-
then on their own.
Yeah.
Just give them like a 5-year-old computer so it's not great,
It's like-
but not terrible, and then just let
Yeah.
them fuck it up.
Just do it. Like
Yeah,
when I got
I like
my
that.
when my parents gave me my first car, they're like, "Okay, this is yours, but you have to make sure it keeps driving, and if it stops driving, that's your fault, and we're
Right.
not going to help you."
So my kid's crash course to the internet is gonna be through a Windows ME computer.
All the jokes with you are about Windows.
You gotta.
Which,
keep
by
it,
the way-
you gotta keep it running.
Yep.
Gotta keep it running.
No,
kid.
no,
BGM?
Microsoft Bob.
Shout out to one of our listeners because Mr. T85 loved the way you described how you would hack a Windows machine with the batch file from
Oh, yeah.
Notepad. Yeah, he loved that. He was on the subway, apparently hysterical. So, all right, guys. Well, one thing that I tragically forgot to do at the beginning of the show was tell everybody where the fuck we are. So, we are at the Sin Shop, Las
also
Vegas.
forgot the episode number at the beginning.
No, I said episode
No,
22.
it wasn't before the intro.
Oh yeah, right.
Okay, well, that was the last 3 episodes, so now this is the new pattern. All right, so we are at the Sin Shop Hackerspace in Las Vegas, in the Las Vegas area. We are in the Henderson area, though, right next to the Henderson DMV. That is 1075 American Pacific Drive, Suite C. Go to sinshop.org for information about the shop. Come join your local hackerspace. We do really cool shit here, and you're only seeing through the camera if you're watching live. You're only seeing about a 20th of what's here at the shop. And
Yeah.
I mean, like, you're really not seeing
And it's
a
the
lot.
lamest 20th. It's just a bunch of tables and people who no one cares about.
Yeah, exactly. Chernobyl. No, just kidding. Also, we do have some new news. News. We have news. We have news
Do we?
about our IRC channel. So instead of going to irc.freenode.net, don't go there anymore. If you've been going there, do not go there anymore. Go to irc.GREYNOISE. It is a forced SSL connection, so make sure you're connecting through an SSL connection, and then join Pound Pub to come hang out with us and chat, talk, chill.
And
Do you have any comments on that, BGM? Because you've been working on this
yeah,
all week.
I'm administrating that server, so if you have any questions, send me an email at bgm@greynoi.se. And yes, that email does work now because I'm also administrating the email server.
So we
Which-
went like a month and a half of like
email
just everything.
and IRC. I got those servers up and running this weekend.
It's
so.
only you and Chen's up right now, right?
right now.
yeah,
but you've
today
got,
I'm
yeah.
gonna hook you guys up with some emails. So
Can you resend me my?
Well, you have to
don't
because
have
we
one.
Yeah, no.
we had to he had to
We're-
he had to remake all the addresses.
We're,
so.
we're moving. We're in the process of moving hosts. So
Okay.
on our new host,
I knew that.
just installed Postfix and Dovecot and set up everything, and the IRCD.
I've
I
been
don't know.
struggling with that so hard.
Yeah.
It's tough.
It's
It-
not
it's
easy.
not easy. It took me an entire day to get Dovecot and Postfix working
I've
because
been
like
spending.
there's a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I'm not good
It's a
with email
lot of
stuff.
So, well, BGM, did you want to talk about maybe some of the challenges you've been having this week, or I
Um,
know we've been breaking the bot again. That was kind of cool.
I had a lot of config file challenges, so make sure you read all those comments if you want to set up your own server. Make sure you read all those comments about what each part of the config does, and make sure you know everything is right. There are a lot of options, and what I thought I did was set up virtual mailboxes on the server, but I didn't. I set up physical, well, not physical.
You
but
just set it up based on the
virtual.
account?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
so emails are tied to shell accounts.
Oh,
Oh.
yeah.
So we
That's
will
okay.
we will
if
go
you,
to
if you want to
virtual.
do some
though.
vmailboxes, I can
Yeah.
help you on that.
No, we will go to virtual. Just right now, emails are tied to shell accounts, so I'm working on changing that.
Have you set up all your fancy OpenDKIM and your
Round cube.
SPF?
I have Roundcube.
That's only for viewing mail. You don't
Mhm.
have any authentication then.
Oh no, I do.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
outgoing authentication?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah, everything is set up
Okay.
except virtual mailboxes.
Those are not too difficult. They're just annoying to authenticate.
Yeah.
So, all right.
Yeah.
Well, I guess no other comments about the
And
transitions.
IRC, when we originally went live with the new server, it wasn't compiled with IPv6 support, so I had to recompile and reinstall the server. That only took like 20 minutes though.
Okay, cool.
Oh, and then I had to use IP6 tables to open up ports on, IPv6, which I didn't even know IP6 tables was a thing until I googled what my problem was.
All right. So, BGM, can we get that connection information one more time?
Yeah, it's irc.greynoi.se. Forced SSL. If you get SSL errors and you're afraid, then just drop off the IRC at the beginning. Just go to greynoi.se, port 6697 or 98 or 99 or port 7000. They're all listening for IRC connections.
All right, cool. And remember, when you get onto the server, it's #pub to join the pub and hang out with us. And also, if you're on there, you can make channels of your own.
Mhm.
I know that there are a couple of people who went to the channel of the old name of our podcast because they said that that's where the cool kids were hanging out.
I should go back there.
No, we shouldn't.
Only one person went back there,
And they're both not here right now.
but they are both cool kids. So
Yeah.
It's hard to argue with.
All right, so moving on, I found this article earlier this morning, and I actually shared it on the GREYNOISE Facebook page, just to remind me to talk about it today. The title of the article, and by the way, this is coming from govtechworks.com, so if you like this article, go there. I've actually never seen an article from this particular site before, or from this source, so we'll see.
Could be a food source.
GovTechWorks sounds like an oxymoron.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
All right, so the title of the article is Hackers to the Pentagon, You're Doing Cyber Wrong. You're cybering wrong.
Obviously.
Whoa.
Yeah, so apparently the summary of the article is that some of the leading hackers of the world and the Pentagon are getting together, and basically the consensus is that the Pentagon is doing cyber wrong. And the three main bullet points, which is something I hope Greybot
I
would
was going
probably
to say
be
you
like,
should
yeah.
pass that. You
Yeah,
should pass that
I'll
article
put it
to my bot.
to Greybot and see if it grabs all the important bits.
See how it summarizes it.
So the first one is you can't teach cyber defense without thorough understanding and expertise in cyber offense. Okay, I think we could agree with that, right? So that's the first bullet point. And we can debate this if we want. The second bullet point is cyber is all about breaking the rules. If you try to break cyber defense into a series of checkbox requirements, you will lose. And the third one is the fifth domain, as cyber is sometimes called in the military, joining air, land, sea, space as the others. So you have land, air, sea, space, and tech, or cyber as being the fifth domain. There is no high ground, and the weapon that you use today could be completely obsolete or non-existent tomorrow. So those are the three main bullet points. Does anybody have anything to add to that? Because I think that's actually a pretty good point.
I agree.
Yeah.
The second point kind of touches on my philosophy with password security. Because I encountered a question on Reddit a couple of weeks ago where someone was asking, hey, if people have all these password requirements like upper and lowercase letters and a number and a symbol and this many characters, doesn't that limit the amount of possible passwords someone could have? Because you're limiting the character sets at that point that a possible password could have. It can no longer just be letters and numbers. It has to be like this stuff.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's a
And
good point.
like while it does limit it, if you do force numbers, letters, stuff like that, if you have these limitations on it, it makes it harder to guess what your password is, and it makes it harder to brute force using tools what your password is, as opposed to if it's just 172 character long string of letters A and B, randomly A and B. And so I think the second bullet point that you said kind of touches on that, like, yeah, like it's not just checkboxes. Like checkboxes are bad for security, but sometimes, if you limit stuff like that, it makes it a little bit better.
If you limit what, like possible?
Well, I forget the exact way it was worded on the question, but it was basically like you have this many possible
I remember
character
that,
combinations
yes.
you could use if you don't have any restrictions on the password.
Right.
Whereas, like, it gets lower and lower if you do have restrictions.
As opposed to just having like so many string of characters. If you say you must have an 8-string password with one capital,
if you don't have any limitations on a password, a password can literally be everything.
Yeah.
But like if you say, okay, a password has to be at least 8 characters, then it can't be everything. It has to be everything that's a string greater than 8 characters.
And you give a potential hacker like something to work with, like they say.
That's what they're saying. They're now the hacker knows what they need to look for, but it's not that simple.
Yeah, and it's better than everyone making their password literally the shortest thing they can.
102.
Yeah.
102. Yes, no, I agree.
So I was just checking in on the IRC channel, and Akeen says cyber is not a word; it's a prefix. And so I responded with, "Hey Akeen, want a cyber?"
I think it's hard to.
I remember like a couple of weeks ago we were talking about cyber psychology. So.
Oh my fucking god! Don't get me started.
Everything's going to be a cyber something now because
when it comes to the bullet points, one thing that touched me very nicely too. No, but they were saying in order to, first of all, you can't know cyber defense without offense, and I completely agree with that statement. But then also too, if you look at what we do, we break the rules, not in a bad way, but like we modify, we hack, we break things to make them better, modify or fix them.
Yeah.
So our nature is to not use anything conventionally, anything at all. And
if you don't know what's soft, you can't harden it.
I was going to say, because if you don't know how they're going to attack you, you have no idea how to defend that. You got to think. You have to think like you're going to hack into that system. Otherwise, you'd be like, I don't know.
That's why I give you guys free reign to try to break my bot.
Yeah,
I'm still trying to.
I think that
what's my score?
The problem with the government is essentially they're approaching it in almost like they would a military or like they would anything else the government does, where there has to be a super strict set of bureaucratic rules, and you have to conform to all these prefixes and standards and all these different things and make sure you check all your boxes, which means that literally everyone knows that how they can get in or what rule sets they were following or what people that they're going to hire from what type of pool.
And their collective heads are like, they can only do this, this, or this, but when a hacker's going to be like, I'll do fucking anything.
So
so
can security and bureaucracy coexist?
No.
Yes.
I don't think so.
You think so? How?
They just have to be more lenient with what they're...
But then
that's not a bureaucracy.
I think, honestly, how it's going to have to work, if we want to be successful, is the bureaucrats had to just step back and say, we don't know this,
but why
do it.
But why wouldn't... Why does that not bureaucracy if you just loosen the
I don't think. I don't think they need to loosen the rules. What would be better to do would be to be willing to modify the rules based on previous issues that have happened.
and having the forethought to think that okay, they've done this, so they might do this next or whatever. But I mean, I don't understand why that wouldn't be bureaucracy if they alter the rules to fit what they're actually trying to defend against.
Because I think that eventually the process that you had to go through in a bureaucratic state of making, modifying, changing the rules will never be able to keep up with the state of technology change. By the time that you make your new rule that allows for you to protect against that 0 day, it's already irrelevant.
That's true, but hackers are people, and people fall into patterns.
True.
So
that's true.
If the bureaucrats can figure out what that pattern is, it's all detecting an algorithm. If they can figure out what the pattern is, they can determine rules to check against.
We just
that's funny because
we just got to finish counting pi. We'll figure it all out, man.
and I think that would be part of modifying the rules. Okay, as a whatever, you would understand that cyber warfare is not the same as conventional warfare. So you would need to modify your approval process for techniques and whatnot. You would need to change up things to meet cyber terrorism, to meet it head on, as opposed to doing it the same way. Like you have to
Well, I just think cyber is exactly like regular warfare. You try to find a weakness in whatever you're attacking, and you go for it. You exploit a weakness.
It would be if we weren't talking about the modern era of warfare, where we had to follow the Geneva Compact and other tons of different rules. Convention, sorry, not compact. We had to follow a set of rules that all armed forces now follow. We had to follow our ROE that's publicized everywhere.
There are no rules in the cyber world.
Yeah.
For hackers.
It's just like we had the same issue in real warfare when we came up against guerrilla fighters who didn't have to follow our rules.
Yes, and that's what I mean, and that's what I think they should, and I'm sure they do understand it, but that's what they would need to modify as a way to meet that head on, as opposed to doing it the same way they've been doing it for the last 50 years.
But
When cyber warfare didn't exist.
But now our military has adopted some guerrilla tactics.
I'm gonna have
we adopted them.
Right, but
we do change.
but cyber warfare is much quicker than that. It's as opposed to like conventional warfare, which can take
They are Borg.
days.
They run
like days, week, months to even get to a war zone or whatever. Cyber warfare is almost instantaneous.
Here's where cyber warfare differs from actual guns and bombs.
Time.
Well, time, yes, but also reach. On top of that, though, too, if you were to release a cyber weapon into the world, such as Stuxnet, I'm using that as an example because one of the latest books I've listened to
is was so sexy.
It
It
is.
is.
Such a sexy
So the book
thing.
that I read was from a Wired author, Kim Zetter. It was called Countdown to Zero Day, and I listened to it on Audible. And so the thing with cyber weaponry is that when you launch it and attack somebody, they can take that weapon, reverse engineer it, and toss it back at you. Unless your networks are secure, but
So
it's not. It's
you
not
almost
where
have to treat it like biological warfare. Then, so
Yeah,
when you develop
exactly.
an agent, you have to develop the antidote as well.
exactly. And so the thing is, like, a lot of places that have, like, they're an antivirus company where they have these networks that are used for testing purposes. Those networks are air gapped just in case they release something completely by accident that then gets spread. They don't want to spread it to the public or the internet, you know. So their networks are air gapped, and like you can't go in there with like USB drives that are unknown. And I think they don't even use USB drives.
Yeah.
At least that was just explained in the book. They have to use CD media or things that don't run auto start, you know. So that's I think where the warfare differs is the way that the weapon is released.
Well, I think somebody should explain Stuxnet for people who don't know what it is.
Okay, so Stuxnet was basically it was a worm that was used to attack Iranian nuclear plants, and it was attacking specifically the centrifuges. It starts with the P. PLCs, yeah, the PLCs on the centrifuges to make them overheat, overrun, and burn out, basically. So it was meant to lower their capability or slow them down in their capability of building nuclear weapons or nuclear anything,
it was
enriched uranium.
producing yellow cake uranium,
Which is-
specifically for weapons grade use, not for energy use.
Medical or
And that's impressive. And I think it's very impressive how the worm worked. It would attach itself to every computer that it came in contact with, but it wouldn't. It was like untraceable. Nobody knew it was there, and it would infect.
It was because it was only looking for a specific, really, really specific signature.
And until it got there, it did nothing, and it just like lied dormant on different computer systems as it traversed through different computer systems until it finally got to where it needed to be.
And that's another thing that you got to think about too. In order to attack a single target, it's almost like they had to infect the entire internet.
And
Well, how did they know that exact signature too?
I got to
They
remember.
would have had to have had contact with something like that.
Yeah,
I'm
they were
sure-
talking
I'm
about
sure
it too.
someone
There
on
was
the
some.
side.
I don't know like exactly the details, but there seems to be some sort of inside information on those. Remember,
That screams inside
They
information.
Yeah.
probably sold them.
It was specifically attacking centrifuges,
yes.
Yes.
and it was geolocating itself to locate itself within Iraq, and it was attacking centrifuges
But not Iraq.
that were made by Iran.
Iran, yeah.
Yeah.
That was
We'll,
made by
we'll repeat it
a
because
specific
Yeah.
manufacturer,
Siemens.
by Siemens, and that was of a specific size to refine uranium.
okay. So Akin is in the background over there, and what he's saying is that these the signature was basically it was geolocated for specific PLCs made by Siemens that were in Iran, and that's how it pretty much zeroed in on what it was looking for.
Yeah.
So, and anybody who hasn't read that book, I highly recommend it. I know I don't do a book review every month, but I seem to be finishing a book every month because of Audible, and God, it's amazing. But I'm currently working on a book called Red Team. Yeah, it's really good. But that book, Countdown to 0 Days by Kim Zetter. She's an author at Wired.com. It's a really good book. It explains the Stuxnet theater well, very very well done.
Can I read a post from Reddit that it kind of is really on topic actually? With this?
Yeah, go ahead.
So you can grab this link and put it on the website. But someone asked, what are the best computer hackers able to do right
I saw
now
that.
most people are unaware of?
I feel like I know what you're going to talk about.
Oh, yeah,
because we talked about
I
this.
think that Doxy wanted to bring that up too, but go ahead.
Yeah, there's one guy, Nick Kano, that's his username. He replied with, 1. Gain full execution rights on your machine from a website by exploiting bugs in the browser or plugins. This can give them access to install malware or other nasty bits. 2. Create exploit kits that do number 1 across all platforms with relative ease. Number 3, do number 1 and 2 from legitimate websites, even YouTube, by buying advertising space on them and embedding their exploit kits in the ads.
Wow.
Yep.
4,
Yeah.
easily bypass antivirus using packing and polymorphic code. Detection is dead and attackers know it. 5, do the same as number 1, but from a document, spreadsheet, or PDF. 6, persist across 3 formats using bootkits. 7, propagate into virtual machines. 8, propagate out of virtual machines.
So
So that was the top 8
insane.
then?
Yeah.
And,
you know, and a really interesting thing about that is the whole ad space thing. Like, I mean, viruses and ads are really nothing new. They've been there for a while, but I mean, shouldn't we start calling upon these websites to actually verify what's going on in their
I mean, we have
content?
SSL to verify websites. Why not
Yeah.
have like SSA to verify ads? You
Yeah,
know,
I've got a
It
question.
really shouldn't be our job, though. That should be the company's job to verify.
secure
So-
socket advertising.
Well, so if a domain has an SSL certificate and it's verified and trusted, but they put advertisement space on their site, that doesn't automatically get
Generally,
approved too, does it?
if I go to a website that has HTTPS on it, everything that they load on that site needs to have HTTPS on it. Otherwise, my browser would be like, "This is weird. I don't like what's going on." It has secure and insecure stuff, and I don't like that.
That should be the perfect time to have Hughes be here.
Yeah. So
Yeah, where's
No.
Huseby?
No, you
because
can
my
have-
browser does yell at me.
You can have frame components that are HTTP and not. Like if you can go into sites that are not HTTP, but they have components that are HTTPS. Like for example, if you look at most
Keen is saying you can have frame components that are.
you
Yeah,
can have
so
frame
mixed
that are
components, right?
encrypted, but like the rest of the page is not.
That's weird.
So, okay, in that instance, then wouldn't you still be vulnerable on an HTTPS site?
You would. Yeah, you would. But my browser, I know my browser yells at me if I mix content, if I have mixed site
So I
content.
don't think you get the green icon unless the whole page is.
The green icon, I think,
Okay.
is just an extra
Yeah.
cost. I think you just pay for that extra when you go to buy an SSL cert.
Well, I think for that, like it's got to be the whole page has got to be encrypted.
Oh, okay.
But I
I'm
mean,
not
you can,
sure.
there's no technical reason why you can't mix it, and people have done it all the time. It's less and less an issue now. People honestly used to do it because HTTPS took more CPU, but that's becoming less and less of an issue.
Okay. So what Akin is saying is there are instances of mixed HTTP and HTTPS framework on a web browser, but that's becoming less and less because SSL is becoming less and less demanding on a CPU. Oh, and Crux, I guess, is an IRC, so he is kind of with us, right? So, let's see. Oh, okay, so Crux, automatically the first thing that I see says kill Flash. Okay.
Yeah, Flash should have been dead long ago. I don't know why it sticks around.
Adobe just end of lifed it.
Yeah, they.
Good.
And then Crux says that one thing he noticed with...
Akeem just said Adobe just end of life Flash.
Yeah.
The next
Okay.
version of Creative Cloud no longer supports Flash.
Oh, wow. That's a step in the right direction.
Yeah.
Crux said that that he noticed that with Flash ads, they seem to bypass proxy settings, which is kind of interesting. Let's see. And they expose your real IP because of the bypass of proxies. That's something to take note of. I didn't know that, so that's cool.
That's cool.
I mean, that's cool to know. Let's see.
Yeah, but I think the biggest, going back to the warfare thing, is time. From conventional warfare, boots on the ground, yada yada, to cyber warfare is time. Like the time it takes, troops to fly from here to wherever, or from wherever to wherever. Cyber warfare can be completely different. Like things you could have patched, something is immediately vulnerable after that. Like you fix something, but break something else, and it's just a matter of like time is just so almost instantaneous when you're doing cyber warfare. and that's what I think is the biggest
Now,
difference.
okay.
Oh, go ahead.
Well, I'm sorry, Chernobyl. With Stuxnet, as described in the book, seemed to be more of an espionage and sabotage kind of deal.
Yeah, I'm sure it took quite a
When
bit
do
of
we
time.
see cyber weaponry becoming more than just sabotage and more than just information gathering?
I think it will
killing?
always stay into
Well, yeah,
the
like-
espionage
When it-
side.
You
mean
think
like
it'll always stay on the espionage side?
Because
Wait, you mean like killing and whatnot?
Well, because so I could be wrong. I'll have to do some research on the Geneva Convention, but I believe the idea is that you shouldn't be as a rule of war, you shouldn't be attacking hospitals, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if they were to develop a cyber weapon that attacked, let's say, the heart rate monitor of a patient,
Oh,
I mean, then that obviously violates that rule. And
I was gonna say. I mean, you already. It's not.
I think
that-
that still sort of sits in the espionage sector because
Yeah.
well,
the
oh,
thing
so
is
so
that
you're talking about like
the-
assassination.
the
then,
difference between
Yeah.
what I would consider a war and an espionage act would be that in an espionage act you would not take credit for what you did.
No, in an espionage act, your country disavows any knowledge.
Exactly,
of
that's
it.
what I mean. Like
Yeah.
you are clandestine and you will not acknowledge that you did or that you committed that act or ordered that act. Whereas in a war act, you are openly admitting that that is what you are doing. So I think that's why most of these cyber things will always remain in the sector of espionage over warfare because you're going to want to do a lot of things that aren't going to be legal. And as laws, regulations, etc. come down, you're going to want to increasingly just disavow yourself of all the actions you do. And because it's so easy, because you can say, well, like China's a good example. China kicks our ass in cyber warfare most times. Like there's a reason that they have technology that they have no right in having is because they keep hacking our servers and taking it from us. Like, you know why they got stealth paint? Because they stole it from Lockheed. It's what they do is they basically just have these houses of computers and they don't claim to own them, but these people just are hacking all the time.
they're third-party hackers for quote unquote for the Chinese
Well,
government, right?
most of those hacks come through social engineering scams like phishing emails and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But
That's the main way China propagates themselves into American government.
so
is
Crux
through
said really quick to go back to the Flash thing. Crux said that they just renamed Flash, and McNutt did a fact check, and he said that it's called Adobe Animate. So that's interesting.
I just think Adobe needs to die.
Is there
Adobe
any,
completely?
Is there such
Yes.
thing as a completely hardened system then?
Absolutely not.
There will never be a completely hardened system because the weakest point will always be you. But
Well, how many times does Google get hacked? I mean, you would think they'd be a major target for someone out there, and I never see them in the news.
Well, I'm not saying that it's not extremely difficult, but you can never say that it's completely hardened.
yeah, you can just say that's. You can never make a system that's unhackable, just like you can never make a safe that's uncrackable. You just make it so prohibitively expensive to do so
That
or
people just kind of
time-consuming
shy
to do
away
so
from it.
that they give up.
They're like, fuck it, I'll go hack Microsoft.
Yeah.
Or something, I don't know.
So in terms of that article, what's Google doing right that the government isn't doing?
That's a good question. I don't know if Google is one of the groups of elite hackers that are
Yeah.
consulting with the government. They didn't name anybody. So that would be a good question. And why hasn't anybody, not just the government, but why hasn't anybody asked Google what they're doing? Because you're right, BGM. Google seems to be the only target.
And
I mean, the only time they're in the news is when they're talking about giving away
Other
your
people, yeah.
privacy.
and
I
maybe
know they have a bug bounty. Does that help?
maybe the reason that
Maybe.
they are so secure is because they don't talk about how they're secure. Like they don't go around bragging that
Yeah,
we
they
don't
don't
get
say
hacked.
we have this and this is implemented this way.
Yeah.
That would be a really good question because
Let's find somebody.
I don't know what else to say. BGM, you brought up a really good point.
Let's find
Yeah.
somebody at Google and ask them.
But I think probably part of it
Stay.
too is the environment that Google tries to create is one of very free and creative thought. And because of that, people are going to just develop things that help or prohibit them, to help them not get hacked or to further the security and stuff like that. The government, however, does not facilitate that at all. You are put on projects, you are doing X for Y amount of time. It's always very regulated. And the thing is, the top level hackers don't think that way. It's not going to be a productive environment for them. So I think that's just shooting yourself in the foot in that regard. I think if we did it more like China or probably Google does, where we just give people resources and free reign, we'd have a lot more success.
So we actually do have a live listener who's texting me right now. Hello, Mr. T85. So he's saying, let's see, a big issue is insecure links, HTTP links in HTTPS sites. Can create higher security holes. This is what we were talking about with Akeen earlier. But he says HSTS is the new standard and requires connections on a website to be all HTTPS.
That's good.
So that's cool. I didn't know about HSTS. He did put a link on there, which I
Hyper
could.
Secure Transport Protocol. Is that what it stands for?
Mr. T85, if you can get back to me in the next few minutes, what does HSTS stand for? He did.
Hyper Secure Transport System.
Okay, well, he did give me a link, so I could definitely put that into the show notes later. And he says he would put on IRC, but he's a noob. Just join IRC and we'll fucking train you, man. Join IRC, goddammit.
Everyone should.
Everybody should be on IRC.
I think it might be Google's bug bounty, because in that sense they open up their programs
okay.
and any weaknesses
Yeah.
to anybody in the world that can find it.
They
There
also
he is.
Make it so
Okay.
it's better for you to give them the information of how you figured out how to hack them than to keep it secret.
Okay, so McNutt, really quick, did the fact check for us. If I didn't miss it, you guys saying it already. HSTS stands for HTTP Strict Transport Security. So that's what it stands for.
Cool.
I'm learning a lot of shit today.
GREYNOISE is rocking all that stuff.
Oh, sweet, thanks. Huseby, we do have an open mic.
Oh, we do, huh?
Yeah, so that is our guest mic. So you are a guest.
Huseby joined us
Sorry,
just
I'm
now.
late.
That's all right. You did know that the show starts at 7 now, right?
I do know that.
Okay, no, I'm just making sure because if anybody's listening live, you did it correctly. I feel sorry for anybody who's going to be joining us at 8, and it's like, all right, guys, see you next week.
And we're done.
So we're talking about HSTS. I just want to point out, I don't know if you guys talked about it already.
Oh, wait, talk
We
directly to the mic.
we just mentioned it.
We just mentioned it.
Oh, about the Let's Encrypt TLS SSL certificates that we have
We have those on GREYNOISE.
on the GREYNOISE server, and I was able to set them all up. If you do the Qualys SSL test on our domain, we get an A+.
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 Yeah. So
When do we get rated? Or are we rated already?
No, you.
Well, we
when
got
you,
rated.
when
If you go to Qualys, QualisSys.com, I think it is.
something like that.
Oh, there's,
Yeah.
you can,
SSL
there's
test,
other
you can-
Yeah.
there's other SSL checkers.
Yeah, but they all like us.
Yeah.
I set it up correctly.
You can do like
Oh, thank you.
you can do like
dude.
GeoTrust and whatnot.
Let's encrypt.
I have to give a shout out to Mozilla though, because
Yeah.
I mean I use their page on how to do it correctly.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So
Um,
so somebody can follow a tutorial. Awesome.
So we
Let's Encrypt
will all
actually
know that that's a good
went,
tutorial.
Let's Encrypt actually went to public beta yesterday, so it's open. Anybody can
Sign
get
up.
Let's
Get your
Encrypt.
certs.
that might be in the Hacker News today.
Everybody get your website secure.
Everybody get your website.
Which, believe it or not, you guys, yes, Mr. T85, we beat you to the fact check. That's why you should be in IRC, because that's where we're looking. All right, so it actually is time for the lightning round.
Is it? We still got 15 minutes.
Well, you know how long the lightning round takes.
30 seconds.
Yeah.
30,
My
30
ass.
It's rolling
It's
thunder.
the
It's not
lightning
lightning.
round.
30
Yeah,
seconds.
it's rolling
silence.
thunder round. All right, well, before we go into the lightning round, does anybody have anything else to add to what we've talked about today so far?
Cyber warfare is fast.
Very fast.
The fastest.
The fastest.
The fifth domain, the fastest.
Yeah.
All right, so before we jump into the lightning round, remember everybody, we are at the Sin Shop Hackerspace in Las Vegas, Nevada, or the Las Vegas area in Henderson, Nevada. Go to 1075 American Ooh stickers. Okay, so go to 1075 American Pacific Drive, Suite C in Henderson, Nevada. We are right next to the Henderson DMV. Awesome, really sweet. Check us out. Go to sinshop.org to see what we're all about. And for our podcast website, go to greynoi.se.
Nice.
Yes.
That really bugs me the way you say that.
GreyNoise.
Yeah.
See?
What? Just go to Grey Noise? Where are they going to put the dot? Where are they going to put the dot?
GREYNOI.se. It just sounds weird when you go GreyNoi.
Yeah, it does.
Fine.
Like-
Everybody
like
go
you
to
say it.
GREYNOI.se.
But isn't it a
And-
3?
Or you can also go to
It's- well,
greynoise.com,
Greynoise is E.
where the
Greynoise
3
is
replaces
E.
an
Yeah.
E.
Did you say the
Grey.
IRC channel? irc.greynoi.se. GREYNOI.se.
I'm so gray annoyed right now.
Yeah, Grey annoyed. I'm
Make
keeping
sure
that sound
you
bit.
force SSL if you join us. And like I said, if you're worried about the domain mismatch, if you go to irc.greynoi.se, use me. Our certificate does not cover the IRC dot in our domain, so if you get a little weird about that, you could just go to greynoi.se, force SSL, and over port 66979899 or 7000.
Yeah, I'll be reissuing the certs here soon. I gotta double check because when I was originally setting them up, I hit the they have a throttle on it. You're only allowed the closed beta was only 3 in 90 days, and I used all 3, and it's not been 90 days. So I don't know if I'm still stuck by that or not. But either way, 90 days expire and I get more. Then I'll reissue for those.
Yeah, IRC won't be weird. irc.greynoi.se won't be won't be strange for so long. But
Yeah.
yeah.
And when you do
Plenty of
connect to the
ways to reach
server,
us.
because we did have an issue with this earlier, somebody actually joined the server, but they didn't know how to connect to a channel, so they were kind of just chilling on their server window, so that was kind of funny. So when you join the IRC server, also send the command /join pub, pound pub. It's pound pub, that's the name of the channel.
Yeah, it's a /. And
Yeah,
if you see Greybot, you've done it right. If you see my bot, my Python IRC bot.
And it's open season on the bot since it's being beta tested again.
yeah.
So it is
Being
open
hardened.
season. So all right, now
It's
is
really
that,
fun when you kill it. I've done it.
yeah. See, right? I asked him if we were keeping score. So now, Doxy, I hope we have enough time for the lightning round.
Why are you looking at me?
Because you said we have 15 minutes. Now we only have 10 minutes. Lightning round usually takes 15.
I didn't say nothing.
Yes, you did.
Just do the lightning round instead of arguing about it.
All right, here we go. Shut up.
Wait, Chen, what is this?
This is the lightning round, which for those of you who don't know,
Rolling
thank you, BGM.
thunder.
For those of you who don't know, our podcast does a lot of discussion and not so much about the headlines, and so we keep the headlines for the end. We simply read the headlines from thehackernews.com. We give our, hopefully, tweets length of opinion, and then we encourage you guys to go do your own research, come up with your own opinion, and find your own knowledge. So here we go. We're going to start. We're going in clockwise order or counterclockwise?
Counterclockwise. I want Chernobyl to go first.
No, we're going to let Husby go first.
Husby? Okay.
All right, fine.
All right, here we go. First, these top 10 programming languages have most vulnerable apps on the internet. Ooh.
What?
These are always fun because, well, how do you determine vulnerable? Are these like exposed, like actual? Hey, we found this hole in this.
Well, that's kind of interesting because last week.
You know the answer is PHP.
Okay.
I was going to say number
I think
one's
that
got to be
ends-
No, no,
Java.
no. Hold on.
So what's the list? I
I
mean,
think
this
that
is
ends
great.
Okay. The list. Okay, wow. This
That's
is
actually
interesting.
what's interesting. is the
Wait,
list,
I'm
not
guessing
what I
number
think
one
about
is
it.
Java.
No, actually, you guys, number one is C and C++. What the fuck? Wait,
Yeah,
what?
of course, mutable by default, right? Just enough rope to shoot yourself in the foot,
Okay.
and just enough guns to hang yourself.
All right. So that okay. Well, that's number one. Number two is iOS.
Rope to shoot yourself and guns to hang yourself?
Yeah, you got my joke. No, so C and C++, yeah, is everything's mutable by default. And I remember when I learned C and C++ years ago, it was actually a big deal in the early 2000s for all of us to go cons correct because we quickly realized as an industry that having
Oh, wait. Sorry, guys. I read this wrong. Thanks, Zenvi, for that fact check. Okay. My bad. All right. First.
I still want to hear your story about C and C++, though.
Okay. Sorry about that.
Well, I don't know. Some other time.
All right.
So
So,
let's do the lightning round.
yeah.
Let's do
Okay.
the lightning round.
Well, no.
Damn it, Master Chen. It's ruining everything.
Wait.
Hey, for everybody listening, we're gonna have beers after this. This is why you should come down to the live show because you get to hang out and we'll actually tell you what we really think.
And then we slowly
You can
become
slap
more and more
Master
not
Chen on the
sober.
head in person.
Well, you know what? I think my soul has given up on the lightning round. All right. So the first one is actually classic ASP. That's the first one.
Microsoft.
It is a Microsoft.
All right.
technology.
The second one is Cold Fusion. Number three.
That's Adobe, right?
Adobe, yeah.
Number three is PHP, Akin.
So PHP is the first one that's actually used.
First one actually used.
And
Fine,
is
Akin. There we
that
go.
what's the problem with WordPress? Is it because it's written in PHP?
Maybe.
WordPress
written
is
PHP.
so
It is.
bad. Yeah, it is.
All right.
It's
Number
PHP.
four is Java. Number five is .NET.
I was close.
Number
with
six is
four.
C++. Number five or seven is iOS.
Wait, what version of .NET?
.NET.
Everything
all
and
of
everything.
them. All right. Number. I didn't know this was a programming language, but number 8 is Android, and number 9 is JavaScript.
Wait, isn't
Android
just Java?
Android
So
is
no,
Java.
Android
so what?
and iOS were both considered
Well, unless
programming languages.
talking about they're talking
Really?
about Go.
They were both on
Android,
there.
Android's new.
Oh,
Android's
Android
new.
Go. Okay, well.
It could be
Well,
Go.
no, they would have said go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Next
You
article.
would
Wait.
think so, but I
Doxy,
don't
do
know.
you have an opinion on this? Wait, what was that? Just can you
No,
repeat me?
I want to point out and notice that Rust is not in that list. Thank you very much.
Notice that Ruby is not also in the list. Oh, and Python.
Python.
Python's not also in the
Python's
list
not in
either.
that
So I
list.
fuck you
What's
guys.
You know, cryptographers have a fetish for Python, I've noticed. A lot of the new tools are being written in Python.
It's
Just
because
point
it's the
that out.
greatest language ever made.
Oh, Jesus. All right, next one. How to run multiple Android apps on Windows and Mac OS X simultaneously.
Do we need to bother talking
No,
about
we
this?
don't.
Yeah.
Nobody cares.
All right, next one. Kazakhstan.
I want to hear Husby's.
I kind
I
of.
want to hear Husby talk about C and C++.
So can we fly through this lightning round there?
Go quick.
All right, Kazakhstan makes it mandatory for its citizens to install Internet Backdoor. Holy shit!
Well, at least they're publicly announcing that you have to have a backdoor, unlike the U.S. where they just do it secretly.
Or Sony,
Well,
where
I
they
was-
put it on the CDs, right?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I guess.
You got
full
a thing.
disclosure?
You got a thing. You got a thing. Are you saying
Nope.
anything? Okay, then I'm gonna go. I was gonna say like in 3 years, if stuff like SOPA passed, that instead of Kazakhstan, you'd see America on there.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's true. Well.
But now we just do it secretly.
All right, the next one. Alert! This new ransomware steals passwords before encrypting the files. We talked about this earlier. That is Angler Exploit Kit.
Hughesby told, not Hughesby, fucking Xenify told me about that.
Well, excuse me. What do you got?
Shitty software.
So
shitty
from the
people, I don't know, I
IRC,
don't
real
have
quick,
anything.
McNutt would like to point out that the Hacker News isn't under HTTPS by default.
Ooh.
Almost.
Oh,
That's
Also, ooh.
That's a glaring mistake.
ooh and ooh. Ooh and ah.
Ooh.
Any comments?
Never pay the ransomers.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
yeah.
just
Don't pay.
weird.
Yeah, if you get ransomware, don't
You should
pay
be
them.
backing up your shit anyway. All right, next, a step-by-step guide how to install free SSL on your website. Oh, guess what? We did it. Let's encrypt.
Hey.
Yay. Questions?
We did it when it was still cool.
Yeah, we are the hipsters
Whoa,
of
you
Let's
saying it's
Encrypt.
not cool now?
We're the hipsters of
Well,
Let's
now
Encrypt.
everybody can do it. It can't be cool. Right?
Yeah, well, everybody should be doing it, not just can, but
No,
should.
everybody should do that. I want everybody to come into our IRC channel and say, "Look, I just set it up on my domain."
Awesome.
Yeah, we will help you, or at least Hughesby will, because I don't know what the fuck.
Yeah.
Does it
we'll help
link,
you.
does
We'll-
it
we'll
link to
point
the
you to
Mozilla
Hughesby.
article that Hughesby used to set up ours?
Maybe not.
Probably not. I'm only reading the headlines.
I dropped it in IRC. I'll find it again. I am going to be at the Privacy Lab in San Francisco December 17th giving a demonstration of how to provision Let's Encrypt certs for your domains.
Cool.
Oh, sweet. Okay, cool. Is that going to be recorded?
Probably not. Yes. No, it's live streamed and it's IRC just like we do here. Yeah.
Oh, sweet. Okay. All right, next one. China OPM hack was not state-sponsored. Blames Chinese criminal gangs. So it's a ragtag team of
The
Chinese gangsters
triad.
who are working for probably the government anyway. But that's just speculating.
I'm sure they're just trying to.
I
take
think
the
you got
thumbs
it
up
backwards. They don't work for the government. The government works for them.
Right.
Oh, yeah,
well, I was
I
gonna
did-
say
I
like
did-
triads
It's just
are like the
Russian
lobbyists.
mob, man.
I did say earlier, if it's espionage, the government will disavow any knowledge.
Uh-huh.
So this I think is strict disavowing of knowledge.
Patent trolls. 66 big companies sued for using HTTPS encryption.
What? Wait, what?
You know what? The whole
that's-
point of the lightning round is I don't read the article.
Right.
So
That's,
I'm not
that
gonna-
is definitely something I want
Wow.
to read later.
Yeah, I
yes.
will have to read that.
Yeah, because that's
Next week on
interesting.
GREYNOISE.
Holy shit. Okay.
We're suing. We're getting sued.
Wow. Okay. Pro POS, not piece of shit. Point of sales. This stealthy point of sales malware could steal your Christmas.
Is it
Damn,
like?
Grinch.
Is it like a skimmer? I wonder.
I was thinking. I was like,
This
now
seems-
that I
this-
see that would be a good idea.
This seems
Not
a
good idea.
surprisingly clickbaity lightning
Well,
round.
no. Last week was horrible.
Oh, okay.
Last week was all
everything
clickbait.
was like hackers stormed the White House. You won't believe what they did. Governments hate them. You know, it's like
All right, so we got Hughesby over there doing some by the way,
Sticker
that was-
demonstration.
Yeah, some sticker.
yeah, Hughesby brought us stickers. They're pretty
So
cool.
it's-
Mozilla
They are
Spaces.
pretty awesome.
So every Mozilla office has their own sticker, right? And I'm the only person who works for Mozilla who lives in Las Vegas, and so I like to perpetuate the myth that we have this really big office in Vegas.
That's why you made the stickers?
Yeah, made the stickers. I always throw them on the table at the all hands, alongside all the others, and every time I do that, like, I don't know, it's kind of a. Some people do know that there isn't really an office here, but I think there's a lot of people that are like, oh, that's cool, we got an office in Vegas.
Looks can be deceived. That's awesome.
Maybe-
Like editing the wiki and all that stuff.
Maybe
Awesome.
maybe eventually they will have an office in Vegas. And
Maybe.
we'll,
I
we'll
got
all work there.
Crux, I got one for you.
Maybe.
We'll all work there.
All right, guys. So that was the end of the lightning round. Again, go do your own research. Come up with your own opinion because we don't want to tell you how to think.
Definitely research that article
Yes.
about
Yes,
people
yes.
suing over HTTPS.
yeah, that one sounds very interesting.
Yes.
That was not the.
No, wait.
clickbaity
What,
one,
were they suing because of HTTPS, or were they suing
I-
over
I
HTTPS?
think what it seems
they were
like is that
suing
No,
over a
they were
secure
suing
channel.
over a
So
secure
I
channel.
Okay.
I think what the article will probably be about is someone who tried to patent HTTPS or some similar encryption, and now they're suing because people use it.
It was a patent troll, yeah.
Yeah.
So that'd probably be more likely.
Like a domain sitter, but on
Yeah.
a grander scale.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, patent trolls are becoming a big problem, but we can talk about that later. Anyway, guys, thank you for listening. Thank you for joining in. And if you are just joining in, we do apologize, but we start at 7 now and not 8 o'clock. So my name is Master Chen.
My name is BGM.
This is Doxy.
Chernobyl.
And Dave.
Now, we have been saying everything over the episode, so if you haven't heard, go back and join IRC. Check out the synshop.org site.
What's the IRC channel, Chen?
irc.greynoi.se.
That's the
Pound. That's the server, and the
Server.
channel is Pound Pub.
And it's forced SSL, so make sure you enable that SSL checkbox.
We should put a tutorial on our website.
Yeah.
Good idea.
should.
All right. So
Avoid the
anyway,
Greynoid.
yeah, he's very greynoid. What?
No, I was just saying. Oh, you guys are too young.
Avoid the Noid,
You guys
man.
don't remember.
I
Avoid
know
Greynoid?
the
I remember
Noid.
the Noid.
Maybe I'm just the young one.
Avoid the Greynoid.
All right, you guys. Have a good
That's what I
night.
was thinking earlier.
Bye.
Good night.